This is the book of Genesis, chapter 47. Genesis 47. And I'm going to start at verse 13, and it reads, And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. I want to start off beginning. All praise, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakodash Bakatham. I say double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone who teach and do rule well. I want to say peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. I say shalom to the Akim and the Akwat out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad. Land of other nations appearing like the other nations who subscribing to this truth. To you, I say shalom. It's your brother, what's up, out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This lesson is in regards to an article that popped up on my News Break app. According to this failing monetary system and Babylon the Great, aka America, which is synonymous with the title of Egypt as well. Book of Revelations talk about Sodom and Egypt, and this place is likened onto the modern day Egypt, because Egypt for you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, some of Indians, West Indians, and Haitians was a place of bondage, and that's what America is. It's a place that of bondage, not so much physically, but more so spiritually and mentally. Although physically as well, because everyone possesses a social security number, and we're in a debt-based system, so any debt that you owe to the system follows you around, thanks to these international bankers. But point being, this monetary system is pretty much failing, which it was designed to fail because it's a fiat currency, and all fiat currencies basically have failed. I've been meant to do a video on this a while back, but so much stuff goes on and if the spirit switches it or whatnot. But it was pretty much a listing of all the fiat currencies that failed in the past. And America's a fiat currency. And that's why I came out with that scripture in Genesis 47, because at that time the money failed. So they're not using actual real money, which is gold, silver, land, property like slaves, cattle, tangible things. They're using a piece of paper, and when you go into the history of the wine republic, when you go back, to the beginning of World War II, pretty much when that currency had failed, pretty much you had people trying to buy products with wheelbarrows full of money because the money was worthless. So it says business, U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citizen, Chase, and PNC are shutting hundreds of banks, hundreds of branches a year. Here is what to do if your bank closes. So if a bank is closing, you got to question, well, how, why, and then you hearing about how all these banks are in financial trouble. I believe the program is to be bank BTHP, no, BTHF, bank term, no, BTLF, I believe, bank term lending fund, which pretty much has propped up this system because last year, around from April to maybe May, when that Silicon Valley Bank failed, it wasn't the only bank, but it was, that was one that got a lot of attention and headlines. It was a lot of banks financially in trouble at that time. So they had to create an emergency program to constantly get these banks money. So if these banks is not, if the branches are closing, it's because these banks aren't profiting. You know. And again, back to the money fella. It says banks are shutting hundreds of branches a year. This month, some 41 closures were announced in a single week. And among those affected were 9 U.S. bank locations. Bank of America, Chase, PNC, Citizen, Capital One, First National Bank of Pennsylvania, and Huntington also said they were axing branches. Now, these are major banks. So what happens to the small banks and local credit unions and what have you? It says some closures deal a huge blow to customers looking to visit in person to submit a document making Slovakia to submit a document, make a withdrawal or deposit cash and a check, or simply run through their finances with a trusted bank manager. And you know what? Through the Spirit, the Lord just brought it to my mind's eye. You know, it's funny. The area I live in, you know, Jake reside. You know, I'm in a poverty stricken neighborhood, and I remember the elder big guy came and he pretty much had us look up the worst neighborhoods in our city, and I've never done that. You know, it's funny because like Nazareth, like the scriptures tell you, what good thing could come out of Nazareth? You know what I mean? Show you that the Lord grew up in the hood. You know what I mean? In the ghetto, in a poor stricken place. But not to digress, the area I stay in, it's a neighborhood called Buckeye. Which has been around for quite a while. Anybody from Cleveland will be familiar with it. And it's been a Huntington Bank in that location for a minute. Well, now they want to close the branch, and they're trying to make the statement about, or they're trying to use the fact that, increasing crime and whatnot. But in actuality, it could be the fact that, the money is slowing down, the money is failing. It says others, particularly the elderly, may struggle with accessing banking services online due to a lack of fluency with the internet or smartphone apps. Customers can visit the next town or city, but it can mean driving an hour or even across state lines, as one Daily Mail reader told us. And I think they did that in Australia. In order to visit your bank, they had closed all the banks down in one area. And in order to visit your bank, you had to go to a whole other city. So in actuality, what are they doing? It's the same thing like what they did with ATMs. The same thing they did with the public access phones, like the pay phones. Pretty much they made them obsolete, so they made you have to go and get on a wireless plan. To the point where they gave away free phones, because that's showing you that they monitoring everything. Says, unfortunately, the options are limited to either switching your bank or exploring what sorts of services can be accessed using a nearby ATM. And what's funny, they were saying with unemployment, like pretty much, like I got an online bank, but in order to receive unemployment, either you're going to have to go through the bank that they set up for you, or you have to have a physical bank. But if they're closing banks, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is motherfucker really just shooting from the hip. The number of bank branches in the U.S. peaked at over 85,000 in around 2011. Over the last 10 years, it has shrunk by approximately 13,000, according to a combination of data from FDIC and OCC. It says the CP catalyzed the already rapid uptake of online banking. And although 2020 saw the sharpest decline in the number of branches closures have continued, online banks, while traditional banks have increased the breadth of services they offer via an internet browser or smartphone app, online only banks are optimized to provide a full range of services remotely, which is true. They're more convenient to a degree, but at the same time, I just told you, the government saying that they don't want to deal with your bank. They want you to deal with who they want you to deal with. So, the point of the article is these banks closing, and they're closing for what reason? When something closes, is because of the fact that something didn't stay the same. Brothers was just talking about this, about how brothers, as brothers in the faith, and and their families are struggling more so now because, but you can't be surprised and you can't be upset or offended because we speak and prophesy about these things. So why be surprised when they take place? But if we're taking a beating, how much more so these people in the world? You know, those that don't have the truth. So I'm gonna read this is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 1, and it reads, "I will stand upon my watch, set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I'm reproved." So Habakkuk is representing what we, the men that have been given this glorious truth, what we supposed to be doing in these times. We're supposed to be standing watch and watching for the signs and the prophecies to warn our people. And the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahshua answered me and said, "Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it." We're not supposed to try to, we ain't got to use big fancy words like TI, because it's ain't about gimmicks. You break it down the simplest way that a person can understand, like you would break something down to a child, so that they can't say that they didn't know. For the vision is yet for a point in time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. The vision, which is the prophecy. We don't know exactly when, the money will fail or when they're going to implement this new system. We are watching and seeing what's all going on in the world. Elon Musk basically was just celebrating the fact that he, or glorifying the fact that he pretty much made the first transhuman. The first person to take that, micro C-hip, that, charagma, that charagma. It says, "For the vision is yet for a point in time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." Whose soul is not upright? Esau Edom's. That's why he's trying to implement a wicked ass system that he's trying to do. And that's why scriptures tell you never trust thine enemy. But it says the just shall live by their faith. Those that truly believe, the scriptures talk about the Most High seeking those to worship him. What's that? John chapter 4. The true servants, the true believers, and the Most High is going to worship him in both spirit and truth. So those are the ones that's going to rely strictly upon faith. Verse 5, "Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, Esau Edom, his wine is his philosophies, do as thou wilt. A woman is equal to a man, uh, all men are created equal," which all these things we should know aren't true. "He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." Because in his mind, the Most High has put a spirit on him where he really thinks he's the Most High. So he is a God instead of in the midst of the seas, in the midst of the people. Saying he a God over the people. Verse 6, the point, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." And when you go into that word clay, it's abatya, which means pretty much heavy debts. And when you go into the way that this system is set up, it's a debt-based system. And, in a debt-based system, pretty much, a debt-based system can't sustain itself. That's why all fiat currencies have failed. This is the book of and when this thing fails, it's gonna lead to inflation. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 6, and it reads, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny." And when you go into that word penny, it's denarius, which was a day's wage for a Roman soldier back in the Roman Empire, which we're in the revised Roman Empire. That's why the same thing that's doing the same thing. When you go into what happened in the Roman Empire, pretty much inflation helped to, take down the Roman Empire. The soldiers pretty much, their daily wage, they were pretty much inflating the coin because they were putting inferior metals into this denarius in order to pay the soldiers, which, pretty much is going on right now. It says a measure of wheat for a penny and three measures of barley for a penny. So a measure of wheat pretty much is, wheat, bread. So for a day's, it's gonna get to the point where a loaf of bread is gonna be a day's wage. And you remember, watching these multitude of videos where individuals talking about they went into the store. I mean, I've heard brothers speak upon it. They went to the store, got 6 items, and it came to $60. And I heard a voice in the midst of this, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and three measures of barley for a penny, and see thou the hurt not the oil and the wine." But this truth, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding can't be hurt by what's going on. This is what we're gonna cleave onto, because understanding and knowing the thing allows you to be able to deal with it better than the person that doesn't understand or know why something's happening. That's what made Saw such a psychological thriller. Just imagine you being kidnapped and wake up in a room chained to something and not knowing why being done to you. And then Jigsaw still gave them you know, well, I think that was the second one. They kind of pretty much he told them he knew who everybody was. So he kind of told them who and why they was being put in there. I haven't watched the Saw series in so long, but point being that will terrorize that will terrorize you to just be kidnapped, wake up in a room and not knowing why you was put in there. You know what I mean? And then with that mindset, that's probably what led individuals to do what they did, like that doctor when he saw through his body. He did it for his family and whatnot. But what Gerald Salente always says: when people lose everything, they lose it. He thought he was gonna lose his family, so he said, "Fuck it." You know what I mean? Scriptures talk about if your eye offend thee or your hand, you know, which not meaning to literally cut it off, but what I'm saying is you get rid of it. You got some people be so bugged out there, literally go do something, not looking at the uh, spiritual message behind it. Some things are literal. Some things are literal. Some things are figurative. This is the book of James, chapter 5, and the point is verse 1 and 2. Well, I'll read over 3. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for the miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten." And these riches are corrupted because of the inflation. Like I said again, this system was set up. It wasn't designed to last forever. It was set up to, you know, all these fiat currencies, because the devil's the rich man, these elites, these elite international bankers, the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, they understand what's real money. That's why they took and hoarded all the real money and gave you peasants. Some individuals will call you peons, but peasants, because that's what you considered in their eyes, and gave you this fiat currency, monopoly money. I always found it amazing when I came to the understanding, because the Lord revealed it. Like when you go into the game of Monopoly, well, originally Hasbro purchased the games and stuff from a company that made Ouija boards. So I always found that interesting that originally the company was they created Ouija boards, and now they make all these game boards. And then when you go into Monopoly is pretty much the basis of reality of how this system works. So your whole point of the game is to get as much money as you possibly can. And that's what the American dream is. That's turning into a nightmare, correct? Verse 3, "Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days." You know, because the thing is, you chose to change. Scriptures talk about in the book of Matthew, "Lay up your treasures in heaven, where moth," roughly paraphrase, and say where moth cannot corrupt. Roughly paraphrase. You know, because chasing after the bag here, all these things are going to be dissolved. You know, None of these things are truly ours, from even down to your children, because this devil could just come in your house and take your kids. Brothers have an understanding of that, but a lot of you people in the world don't. You got to understand it was the will of the Lord for you to even have the child that you had. So I'm gonna end it with this. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7. At the end of the day, the money's gonna be so worthless, it's gonna be cast away. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 7, and verse 19, and it reads, "They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowls, because it is a stumbling block of their iniquity." There's many stumbling blocks. The scriptures can be set up as a stumbling block. That's in the scriptures. That's code. And that's to show you to truly fear the Most High God. You know. It tells you money will not save. Richest profit not in the day. It says richest profit not in. It says scripture in the scriptures. It says richest profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivered from death. So you've been warned. If you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Kodesh B'Katham. I say double honors to my apostles, the elders of the great millstone, who teach and do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquat of the listening and learning. Lord, willingly this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad. And other nations appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth to you. I say shalom. Till next time I'm able to come with another lesson, I'm going to say shalom, shalom, and mawaf lababah, shalom.